Hello everyone, back again with another podcast. This time we have sports as our topic. You have me, your boy Mr. Leonce. We have
Wally,
Jermaine, Big J.
Jan, Mr. Luke.
I love having the nicknames. We have Big J Jermaine. Wow. Anyone else want to join the podcast? It's not just exclusive to us. Come in. We value your input. It's not just for males, females. You're more than welcome to apply and share what you think about topics. Today's one is about sport. And to start with a nice open-ended question. Do you think that football is the most popular sport in the world? To run up to the World Cup, I think it's a good place to start. Is football the most popular sport in the world? What do we think?
I think it depends where you are in the world. So where we are right now, Qatar, it definitely is. But I think especially where I come from in Pakistan, cricket is the most popular sport. So I think it depends where you are, but I think in general football is the most popular sport.
Yeah, I can back that. Same idea. Football is the most famous sport, but the most common is walking. I mean, if you consider that a sport or running.
I think in general, football is a popular sport because of how simple it is. So I feel like that's why it's quite common in all regions of the world.
Yeah, you only need a ball. You don't need any equipment.
Yeah.
Right?
The rules are quite simple as well.
Yeah. You can make goals.
Don't
out of
necessarily
shoes.
need shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with everybody. I think just depends where you are. Maybe I wonder what the numbers would be on what is the most played sport as well. It's popular probably football, I'd say, but if you think about India, it's cricket.
Yeah.
Your part of the world, cricket. Australia, cricket as well.
Right.
So maybe most played might be cricket, but popular probably.
Yeah.
Football maybe, yeah.
So then what is a sport? Big J, Jermaine, said walking, if you count it as a sport. What is a sport? Is skiing a sport? And I think some of the people I've met in France, they define sport as something with a ball.
Really?
And if it's not a sport, if it's not a, if it doesn't have a ball, it's an activity.
Well, it's like
Really?
fencing is
Fencing is an
An
activity.
activity.
It's an
Just
activity.
based on the people I've met in France.
Well,
Right.
fencing's in the Olympics, is it?
So
It
you
is.
say
Yeah, it is, yeah.
so in French you say you do horse riding, you
Oh,
don't
yeah,
play
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Ah.
You play.
You don't play horse riding, you do it, for example. Is walking a sport? Is running a sport?
I think there's a difference between sport and game.
Okay.
So I think a game could be anywhere where there's specific a competition involved.
Okay.
But I think in sport it doesn't have to be competition. So there's sports where you try to beat your own record. So for example, javelin, you're not actually competing with everybody. You're only competing your score, and then your high score is taken, and then it's weighted who has the highest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a difference between sport and game because game is more for fun.
Yeah.
I feel like in general, you can walking or running, and it could be considered a sport. To me, sport is something that you do physically to get active. It's kind of like a exercise in.
Is marathon a sport? Like long distance running?
I would consider it to be a sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second most played sport apparently in the world, they say, it was something like that. It was that League of Legends game that's online. They were saying every year you can play so only you can win 3 or 4, $10 million US a year playing League of Legends, but they say that's the most played sport after football.
Oh, wow.
Or something like that. But then I wouldn't consider that a sport because you just clicking and drinking lots of Red Bull maybe.
So
or
is
something.
chess a sport then?
No, I think chess is a game. I mean, I've heard of this hybrid boxing chess thing.
Yeah, chess boxing.
Yeah, chess
but
boxing. I
You
reckon that's...
you do 5 minutes.
Yeah, you can
Slap
5 minutes of
somebody-
boxing.
No, you do-
You move on to chess.
No way.
You have
Yeah.
5 minutes of chess and 5 minutes of boxing, and if you either checkmate your opponent or knock them out,
Yeah,
you win.
What is this?
It's a very bizarre sport or game in general.
You've seen that new sport where they slap each other in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That Russian game, whatever it is.
slapping. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a competition though, not a sport.
Yeah.
So is boxing a sport?
Yeah.
Yeah,
boxing.
I would consider it to be.
Yeah.
I think a sport is anything where it's a physical activity and you're competing with somebody else. So I'd say what Mr. Luke was saying, League of Legends, that would be considered as esports, where you're competing with others. But there's no real physical activity involved in there.
Yeah.
And even other traits of sports, so like sportsmanship and everything like that. I think you can't really apply that to esports.
Yeah.
you can say
So you'd have two
GT,
categories, like an actual physical sport,
Right.
Like a
and
mental
then
sport or
esports, like
Esports, yeah.
electronic
Electronic
sports.
sports,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. What do you think about sports people being paid the amount they do? I mean, not in all sports, but let's take the American ones: American football, baseball, basketball, football.
Yeah.
I'm sure cricket in places like India and Pakistan, relative to the average person in the street, these people earn extraordinary amounts of money, whereas teachers and other people
Doctors even.
who people say do more society aren't paid as much. Is that fair, or do you feel that maybe they're overpaid? Or some argue that because of the work they put in from 8, 7, even 6 years old to train every day for a sport, that dedication alone is surely worth the financial rewards they get as an adult. What do we think?
I think there should be money in sports, but I think the way it's distributed is not correct, or it's not the how I think it should be. So you would say that somebody like Messi or Ronaldo are getting paid obviously millions a week or like a month, and I think that's a bit too much. Whereas somebody who's just playing sports for a smaller club and maybe the fourth division in England, they're putting in almost the same time. You know, they're still playing full-time football, and they don't get paid that much. I mean, they can barely pay for food or anything. I think the way it's distributed is
Yeah, but wouldn't you say like it's a different level of football, first division and like fourth?
no, I don't think it should be equal, but I think it's still distributed very
There's too much gap.
The gap is the gap is too big, and I think you don't really see that anywhere else other than sport, where the top person getting paid so much more.
It's
I mean, look at Mbappe, isn't he? Like he's getting
paid
loads.
millions.
like
a week.
loads. Like I think it's like
And I think-
something like 70 million or something. Like he's getting paid a year or something like this. Like now.
Yeah,
Some
Which
of
is-
some of the more recent football transfers in UK
Yeah,
have
right.
reached
I think-
hundreds of millions.
Especially
of
It's
pounds.
become-
right
Yes.
now it's been insane how much money there is involved and
That's fourth.
and sport. I think there was times even like 2015 and prior to that it wasn't that much.
Yeah.
So like transfers maximum would be like 50 million maybe.
I mean, I think there's a reason why so many people want to get into sports or want to become an athlete because of the amount of pay they could potentially
Right.
get. But like, I think the money comes from mostly the spectators, and so if there's like lots of people watching, then the money has to like go somewhere, you know.
Yeah, it's not like it's not government funded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know this one. I've read an article on this where in like German division for football,
Yeah.
the way that their stadiums work is that it's a 50-1 rule where
Yeah.
it's co-owned by the fans make the decisions
Yeah.
for the stadiums themselves. So that's how like they're able to like do a lot more compared to like an English stadium where they're like really
The owners,
restricted and like
yeah.
more expensive because it's paid by private companies or like invested on.
Yeah.
So like with German,
I think
depends really.
especially when you get, because in football clubs are owned by these billionaires who
Yeah.
obviously has questionable morals and stuff. Like you have the example of Chelsea, who was owned by a Russian billionaire,
Yeah.
and now his assets were frozen,
Yeah.
and the person who replaced it was still not the best of people. I think when you have this system where it's the richest owning the clubs, and they're also benefiting a lot from it, so they're actually getting paid more than the players, way more than the players,
Yeah.
the billionaires. So I think if you look at it that way, I think there's a lot of money to football.
Mr. Luke, in terms of like rugby or Aussie league rules or cricket, how much do they make compared to average
so
person in Australia?
In Australia, we have like salary caps, so it distributes the good players amongst the teams basically. So like you don't have someone like like, if you look at Barcelona, the old team, they just had enough money to buy up, or like Man City or whatever it is, just buy up all the good players, and then there's no salary cap. It's just like but for the Australian football teams, they might have like, look, you can only pay in total, like say only like 10 million like British pounds can be used for your entire team's salaries. So then that makes it much more careful about where you want to place your money with your players. So
Is it a draft system, or do you just buy players?
you can, but there's only a certain period, like the end of the football season, basically, like the Australian football season. Then you can there's a trade season, and then if you want a really good player, like the maximum they might get a year is like say $1 million US. That's probably you must be an outstanding player to get like a salary like that every year. But then that restricts how many other good players that you can. And there's 21 on the field at all times. So then you have to have 21 people divided amongst 10 million British pounds or whatever it is.
Wow.
So then you have to, if you're taking 1 million of that just for one player, that means obviously 9 million is left for the rest of the entire team. And there's two teams as well, so the primary team, then a secondary team as well. So you've got 42 players that you have to. Maybe it's like 20 million US.
What sport? Sorry.
Australian football.
Yeah.
So that stops like one team obviously just taking all the good players. The salaries that salary cap is like 100 million then, or $1 billion or whatever. So I think Barcelona was similar to that, or
Barcelona has
Man City now.
Man City,
yeah.
And they just had I think the Saudi guy owns Newcastle now.
Yeah.
So my prediction was maybe in the next 5-6 years, all of a sudden Newcastle's got the world's best players.
They're already doing way better than they.
Yeah.
In America, they have this rule now in the collegiate system in the NBA, whereby you must do a year of college, so what in England we'll call university, before you are allowed to go into professional leagues. There's been a lot of and ahhing where it wasn't a rule till recently, and then they enforced it, and now they're trying to get rid of it again. That's the debate. Whereas in England, you can play professional football at 15 years old. I think
recently
Wayne Rooney did it at 16. There was a guy for Arsenal played at 15.
15.
Do you feel like children should go to university for a year so that if they do get injured, they have something to fall back on? Or do you feel that they've been exploited by the universities they go to? They make loads of money. Also, if you go to college, you can't get paid for it. So you're in college, but you don't get paid for it.
I think it's a bit unfair for some of the players. So somebody like Mbappe, he's been a star since he was 17.
Yeah.
So he would have to go to university. there's children in the UK specifically playing for Arsenal, and they're still doing their GCSEs right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit unfair because university is not required by everybody, especially not sports players. So they're almost wasting a year of their life if they're not interested in that degree. And you can always do university. You don't have to.
Yeah, I think finishing school is probably a good idea.
Yeah,
At least, Australia, in Australian football, for example, they don't, only some of the top players will earn enough now to be able to retire on that money. Whereas most players, they usually play whilst they finish university, because after the football career is done, after 10, maybe 12 years, they've got to still work for the rest of their life to still retire. So. Yeah. It's good for them to have a degree or a qualification at some point, but I know in America they sort of maybe exploit's not the right word, but they're willing to put up with to get them into the right college. Maybe they're willing to put up with immoral behavior of those people, or just cheat on grades maybe, or forge grades just to make sure that they can play for that university and stuff. Or I don't know, what do you think about that?
There's a lot of instances, allegedly, of prospective students receiving gifts from colleges before they arrive. So, say, I might go to Duke University, for example, and they find a new Ferrari or Lexus outside their car. So whilst you can't pay them, there are certain things that you might get from going to colleges. And I think if you stay for 1 year, you're only there for about 5 months, take into account playing, and then... Yeah, a lot. That's the argument for abolishing that rule. I don't know, but I think they say that in case of if you get a career-ending injury at 23, 24, you have the college is obligated to pay out the rest of your degree. So if you break your leg at 24, you can't play sports anymore. Your tuition is covered. That's the caveat.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
But you have to spend a year there.
So, but what does the college get in return?
They get. Imagine if Messi, superstar Messi, was at University of Qatar. Imagine the admissions will go through the roof. So whilst you can't pay them, the college is making so much money. You put Messi on the billboard. You have to imagine that college sports is not like English college sports. They get 100,000. The college teams, university teams in America are way bigger than the professional teams.
Right.
It doesn't.
American teams.
They have a separate league of their own. It's televised and advertised as well.
It's very competitive, the inter-college
Yeah.
tournaments.
So,
There's a lot of fans that go and attend.
And it's actually even in basketball, like when you're getting drafted for the first time,
Yeah.
they say your university name. So like
Yeah.
let's say LeBron James from this university, and
Yeah.
so they get a lot of advertisement from having players.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
In America, you can see from 7th grade up until grade 12, which is 18, of where you're ranked in the country nationally.
Yeah.
So this is Ben. He is the 5th best point guard in the country nationally. So that's a lot. Do you think there's too much pressure on athletes for what they like?
I feel like
So I think that does depend again. So, but I think so in cricket, it's the major, the biggest matches are between countries.
Yeah.
So there might be an India-Pakistan match. So I think there's a lot of pressure there.
Yeah.
And I think because you're representing your country, and you don't, and it's not about the money, you know, it's not about, because the match fee is not that much anyways. But you want to do well for your country. So I think there is a lot of pressure there.
I think is. Do you guys watch that Arsenal documentary?
All or nothing. I haven't seen that.
All or
So it's a
Nothing?
bit,
Yeah, oh man, it's really good, but like it really shows you what happens behind the scenes of like the coaching staff
Right.
and the players and the conversations that Arteta was sort of having with a lot of the players behind the scenes and stuff. And my drawback, my take from all that was like, first of all, like Arteta had like he's got a lot of pressure coming in from who's above him, like the owners, like the Cronkies, I think they're called.
Yeah.
But then it shows you like conversations with the players, and like they seem to be under a lot of pressure as well. Like, you know, every day's training, and if they're not performing, it's like, you know, do we get rid of him? Do we get rid of that player? Like, you know, like, you know, so I think there's this constant pressure from
I think,
like professional athletes. Like, you know, if you are not performing, then you're at risk of your career basically going down the toilet. Like, you know.
yeah, I think there's also pressure because you know you are getting paid that much. So let's say I'm getting paid £100,000 a week to play football, and I know I'm not putting in my best. Then there's going to be this imposter syndrome that kicks in, or something like that, which makes you feel like you shouldn't be there. You don't deserve to be there. So I think there's pressure from there. There's always pressures from people, you know, your family, your friends, to do well as well.
Yeah.
From your team, from the owners. So I think there's a lot of external factors.
Yeah, and then like, even the fans, like, you know, just
Yeah.
the fans
It adds
like,
a lot more pressure.
Yeah,
too.
like, everything on, like, obviously most celebrities are on either Instagram or Twitter now. So
Right.
like, you know, especially like, you know, the stuff that's coming in online.
Right.
You know, he's not performing. He's like, he's a bad player.
Even the abuse in the stadiums.
Yeah.
English fans aren't for the faint-hearted,
Right.
and they're quite. And they've got Italy and Spain and
Right.
60,000 people just saying good things or bad things at you.
Like, I mean, Harry Maguire cops a lot of negativity. Like,
He's a goalkeeper,
like,
right?
even that chant, there was that song that was singing about Harry Maguire and his defense is like,
Oh, yeah.
scary or something. It's like, it's like, you know, and all the memes that come out with Harry Maguire, like, and you know, I reckon there was one Harry Maguire meme where I watched it and it was really funny, but then I thought to myself, like, I wonder what he thinks when he sees all these leagues. Like, you know, he's in the professional league, so he's got to be good to be in the professional league.
Of course.
But like, you know, I've seen some of the mistakes he's making. You just think, like, you know, good lord, what's he doing?
Yeah.
But then how he must feel is like, oh man, like it must be.
I mean, he was
like,
getting
terrible.
paid 80 mil.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah,
for a
it
defender
compensates
of
for
80
it.
mil is...
Yeah.
But 70,000 people telling you at abuse. 70,000 is a lot of people day in. You must have to be mentally so strong to be.
You'd have to be, otherwise if you crumble under the pressure, your career could just
Do you
end.
reckon the pressure forces a lot of players in any sport to cheat then?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
I think there is pressure to cheat. I'll give an example of the Australian cricket team.
Yeah.
So
I see where we're going with this. I see.
in cricket, you want to get the ball.
I've
to
got something to say about the Pakistan team in a minute. Nah, just kidding. Sorry, go
don't
on.
have enough time. I think so. In cricket, you have to get a ball to swing, and if the ball's damaged, it swings a lot more. So the Australian team had a sandpaper in their one of the
I remember
players.
that. Yeah.
They had a sandpaper in their pocket, and Australia was actually winning the match. It was almost like 80% chances that they were going to win the match.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much pressure on them to win, especially Australian Test team in Australia. They're not. The fans don't expect them to lose.
Exactly,
they have to win every single match. So I think there was so much pressure that they just they tried, you know, using the sandpaper on TV. They knew they were on television and they got caught.
Yeah, I think that was like publicly caught like
Oh,
on
yeah,
the TV
yeah,
as well.
it was
Like,
on TV, so
even
you can-
like the Australian commentator was like, I think there's something in his pocket.
Right, yeah.
Like, you know, something like this, and they were like obviously just like using the sandpaper to make the balls.
And the player got banned for life for playing international cricket.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even the captains and the vice captain got banned from leadership. So
Wow.
they didn't get
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
get banned forever because they were good. So Steve Smith and David Warner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, if
But
they were
then even-
Pakistani, they'd get banned. For
yeah.
life.
Even like Neil Armstrong. Like if you look at Neil Armstrong,
Oh,
like
yeah,
just
the
constant-
PEDs.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what was he?
He was doing
Exactly.
blood transfusions. I
Blood
believe.
transfusions. Yeah,
It was,
like you know.
Yeah, and
He
you
was
see
increasing the amount of blood he had
But no one caught him until he.
until he won like
Yeah.
7.
Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
Lance
Uh,
What did I say?
Neil Armstrong's the
No,
astronaut.
the guy that moved. Sorry, Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, Lance Armstrong.
Lance
Yeah,
Armstrong. Sorry.
70, yeah.
Yeah, he won the.
He
Tour
came
de
from
France.
cancer,
Tour de
didn't
France,
he?
yeah.
Came from
Yeah.
cancer and won 7
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And
Only
There's
for,
that movie
only
as
for
well.
him to be exposed as blood doping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of case where the athletes use performance enhancers as well.
Yeah.
So I think they see this easy way into performing, and
Yeah.
they have so much pressure, and they think, why not? You know, just do it. Nobody's gonna find out. And so I think because of that pressure, they're forced to do
Yeah.
that.
A lot of long distance runners from like Kenya and Ethiopia as well. I think they do lots of blood doping.
Yeah.
So they remove the blood, they freeze it, and then the red blood cell count goes back higher because you remove blood, and then they put it back,
Yeah.
so they get more like oxygen.
And that's illegal, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
very
it's not
illegal.
allowed, yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
highly.
yeah.
And they do it because I think their family might not be like, they might be a poorer family, or you know, so they have to be like the breadwinner for the family.
I guess their only way out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I guess, yeah.
But like, because the world champion for the marathon, like, he's some Ethiopian guy or Kenyan guy.
Elliot Kipchoge.
Yeah, like he's
He's
running
Kenyan.
at 13 miles an hour, which is like, I think it's about
Yeah.
22
It's
kilometers
insane.
an hour for
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
Right.
Like,
I saw a
2
stat,
hours,
and
yeah.
I
2
think
hours.
it's
Yeah, he-
wrong, but this is what I saw.
Mhm.
Of the 100 world record holders, like sprinting or something,
Mhm.
something like 91 have been crossed off for doping.
Really?
Mm.
So people who hold the 100-meter sprint record,
Mhm.
91 have been at some point in their life been
Doping.
accused, been proven to be doping,
yeah,
which is insane.
Mhm.
yeah.
But
I,
I mean,
guess that leaves it
that's-
leaves the question of like, you know, if it seems like a lot of people seem to be doing it and just not get caught. So
Yeah.
you as maybe to be a professional athlete now
You're tempted to
just
do
need
it.
to extremely tempted to do it, but then are also trying to learn how not to get caught whilst
Yeah.
everyone else is doing it at the same time.
True.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying like, you know, I'm not saying Ronaldo is anything like this. Like as far as I believe with Ronaldo, like, you know, he works extremely hard.
He just spends a lot of money on his body.
yeah,
Yeah, like, you know, he's professional cooks and everything. Like, you know, he
Yeah.
doesn't drink like, you know, any
Coke.
sugary drinks, just waters and.
yeah.
But like, you know, I guess the temptation with the money, the fame, the, you know, the glory of it all. Like, you know.
Mhm.
Actually, that's your only way out,
Right.
and this is what you've been
I think.
geared up. Because think about it, if you're a superstar at 10,
Mhm.
the whole city, your whole village knows
Yeah.
you. You've always been that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
The
From year
best.
5 to year 6 to year 7 to year 8, everyone loves you. You're the celebrity of the school. Year 9, year 10, year 11. Then to finally get to adulthood and start losing,
Mm.
that must be too hard for people.
Mm.
Right.
If your whole life you've been the celebrity, the guy or girl who's been winning.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think I've heard in parts of like, say, like North Korea and stuff like that, because they come to the Olympics, which
Oh,
is
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
which
They've-
surprised me in the last Olympics. Yeah.
They've partaken in a few of them. And
Yeah.
some of them, I believe, have escaped during the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
They ran away from the stadium. They ran off to some other like regions to get away from North Korea.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, the athletes, yeah.
But I think
they,
I think some athletes, like, you know,
Good call.
Kim Jong Un, like, keeps their families like, if you don't return.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they
their
might have
pressure
gone
is
away.
real
Yeah.
bad.
They might have gotten away, but their
Yeah.
families are still in the
They have-
concentration
they have
camps.
some extra pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit extra pressure to perform, like.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
yeah.
Something that Mr. Luke enlightened me with, and I didn't know this, that countries who, and I'll let you elaborate on this, Mr. Luke, countries who host a major tournament lose a lot more money
Mm.
Yeah.
than they gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then if that's the case, is it still worth hosting a major tournament? Like, I was in London when they hosted 2012 Olympics, and it's the best I've ever seen London.
Mm.
There was things that money couldn't buy, everyone was happy, the weather
Yeah.
was nice.
True.
I think
But then
But-
after that,
But after that, yeah, it was good for 4 months.
After that came Boris. And, Brexit.
So, Mr. Luke, I'll go to you first. How much did they lose? It was
I
quite
think-
close, or
I think for South Africa held a tournament and
The
they
World Cup,
spent they spent
2010.
something like 2.5 billion US, but then on it, and then just only earned back like not even $1 billion or something like this, like after all the tourism stuff. And then if you look at Greece on the Olympics, they had it in 2004 or 6.
Yeah, 2004. Yeah.
Like they were already bankrupt before the Olympics, and then got massive loans from France and Europe or something like this to hold the Olympics, and then were even further in debt by the end of it. Like, you know, so actually like they were like negative on the loan by like, you know, billions or something like this because they had to build a few stadiums or something like this.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what your country's situation is. So, for example, Russia held the 2018 World Cup.
They did.
They already had all the stadiums. They already had all the facilities to hold the World Cup.
Yeah.
They just had to arrange all the tourism stuff.
Yeah.
And I think for them it was a bit easier. But I think for example, Qatar, they had none of the stadiums were built before they got the World Cup job. So they had to actually build all the stadiums. And so that's why they've spent so much more money than anybody has ever in history to hold the World Cup.
Yeah.
But I think their purpose is obviously not to make the money.
Yeah,
It's more for
popularity,
it's-
relevance maybe.
their reputation, like the recognition they
Yeah.
to get.
So I think it depends on your
country's
country's situation. If you can
financial.
host it, you can't host it. But
Do you reckon Pakistan or Philippines or?
I think
they don't have
I think
the financial
so. Pakistan is
capability.
trying to host the 2023 Champions Trophy for cricket.
Oh yeah.
And
But then they have
and
Same,
actually this year Australian team came to Pakistan after 24 years.
Yeah.
So they came after 24 years this year, and they don't want. Most teams don't want to visit Pakistan to play cricket because they don't feel safe there
Okay.
because of past events or
Yeah.
Yeah.
propaganda.
Yeah.
And so now they're trying to host the Champions Trophy, and the Indian team says they don't want to come. Sorry, it's not Champions Trophy, it's Asia Cup. Just look at. So, but the Indian team said they can't come to Pakistan for safety reason.
Yeah.
So I think the only barrier we have is trying to convince countries that it's safe for them to come.
Yeah.
Brazil had that problem.
Right.
With the Olympics and
For the
World Cup.
Australian team, we actually had to give them. So the army was actually protecting the Australian team. So they couldn't go out of the hotel. They couldn't go anywhere. They had one place to go. The Australian team, they were all staying at one hotel with the Pakistan team.
Yeah.
Everything was planned. So whenever their bus would leave, it would be surrounded by police or the army cars.
Yeah.
So it was very strict.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you think that would be good for Pakistan, like bringing it?
Oh
bringing
yeah,
it there?
100%. So Pakistan hasn't had international cricket since 2005. So
Wow.
only this year have the team started coming back.
Wow.
And in these 15 years, even though we have had no cricket in our own country,
Yeah.
we've still the passion is still there.
Yeah.
But I think it's now that cricket's back, I think it's gonna increase a lot. Obviously, you get all the kids coming to the stadium, they see their heroes play, and
Yeah.
I think it's gonna do only good. Obviously, it brings money as well.
Yeah. Nice. What about like the Philippines and stuff like?
I don't think they have a financial capability for a large event like that.
What
Yeah.
about over the Southeast Asia region? So maybe
Oh, the
Philippines,
Sea
Cambodia,
Games.
Malaysia.
The Sea Games, I believe our country is holding,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah,
hosting
most
it.
countries like
Yeah,
in Southeast
they're
Asia
hosting it.
No, I meant like what about hypothetically, like the
Yeah.
World Cup was hosted
Oh.
all over
Oh.
Southeast Asia.
Oh,
So a
yeah.
game in Bangkok, a game in Manila, a
I
game in
I
Phnom
think-
Penh, a game in Jakarta, maybe like a Southeast Asia.
I feel that'd be a bit too much of an inconvenience since it'd be hard to travel between those areas.
Yeah.
I think they had that before, right? Wasn't there like a South Korea and Japan?
Yeah,
World
Korea,
Cup?
Japan did that, yeah.
Where they
Well,
split the games
The
apart.
next one's in Canada, America, Mexico.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, so they are beginning to like.
Yeah.
But
like the idea.
it's more on the money end.
I think,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because like South Korea and
I
Japan,
think-
they are quite
Rich.
wealthy. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're wealthy countries that can afford to do that.
Mm.
Whilst most of Southeast Asia isn't really.
Mm,
As wealthy as those
Yeah.
countries.
yeah. Nowhere near.
I also think taking the sport to a different country that might not be that exposed to it also promotes the sport. So the next, I'll keep on going back to cricket, but that's what I know most of.
No.
Yeah.
So the next cricket World Cup, the T20 World Cup in 2024, I believe. Not
Yeah.
24, 26, 25 or 4,
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. It's going to be in America.
Yeah.
So they're actually building stadiums now in America for
The United States or
The United
America?
States, yeah.
Wow.
So
Which surprised me
because it's
Yeah.
they don't play cricket that
no,
much.
they don't play cricket, but they have large populations from India, from Pakistan, from,
True. Yeah.
True.
and also they're right next to the West Indies.
Yeah.
So some matches will be in the West Indies, but
Yeah.
most of them will be in the United States of America. So they're trying to promote the sport there. So even though cricket is a big sport, it's pretty much unknown in the United States of America. So they're trying to take it there. They even have a smaller league there now. So less professional players in Pakistan might go to America to play the league there.
Wow.
Because there's still a market over there. There's still
They have a higher
rich
chance of getting
businessmen
paid.
who are fans of cricket and want to make teams.
Yeah, right.
Alright, gentlemen, I appreciate your time, your candor. Great discussion. Like I said at the top of the video, if you want to join this podcast,
You're
please
welcome.
come. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Please do. We need
Yeah.
more diversity.
Yeah, please do. But yeah, we will hit you up for another podcast in the near future. Take care. Bye bye.
Adios.
See you.